The Catalunya track. My favorite thing about it is probably that it's not a street circuit. Otherwise, not really a big fan of it. But I am a big fan of what happened here this weekend. Ferrari had also brought a massive upgrade to their cars. Let me take you through the data review for the Barcelona Catalunya Grand Prix. I'm MJ and welcome to MJF1. We had a messy first practice, especially with a couple of rookies having their go in the 2026 F1 cars. But regardless, Russell was on top of things. In FP2, the McLarens kept it together, but my faith in them is pretty low right now. So let's wait until qualifying to assess them properly. Russell dialed into final practice, looking like he will be much closer to Kimi this weekend. I still don't think he is able to beat him. The Ferraris and the McLarens were also not that far back, but it looked like Red Bull was struggling massively. Looking at the race paces from practice, it looks like Mercedes should fare better, especially with Kimi Antonelli, not Russell. But rumor has it that Kimi is not very good at this track. And looking at the best sectors for fast laps, it definitely doesn't look very good for him. The McLarens should also be somewhat up there in terms of qualifying. But you know these drivers always put their laps together in qualifying with a little bit more passion. Getting into qualifying, you would not believe who finally made it into the top 10. It was Audi with Nico Hülkenberg. Bravo, man. And this weekend, at the tip of the top 10, it was my boy Arvid Lindblad. He is putting a solid performance in that racing bull this year. And in Q3, the star of qualifying had another incident. Charles Leclerc met with the worst again, causing a red flag. But after all of that, it was game on between Kimi and George. And George has something to prove this weekend. They went head to head in the final seconds. And George Russell was so quick, he beat Kimi's provisional pole with over 3/10. He had definitely found something in that car. And in the final moment, out of nowhere, Lewis Hamilton chased every second on that track and secured himself P2 with just 0.064 seconds between himself and George Russell. Does Mercedes need to worry about this guy? The driver potentials also show that Kimi should have been outside the top 5, but luckily he fared much better than this as he placed himself in P3 behind George and Lewis respectively. The biggest loser in qualifying this weekend was Oscar Piastri with over 2/10. Okay, race start. Lewis and Max started on soft tires while everyone around them started on mediums. Made some sense for Lewis, but Red Bull, with the struggles they were having this weekend, I don't know, man. Anyways, Lewis was on fire from the jump. He was putting the soft tires to good use as he was already sniffing George Russell's gearbox. And by lap 8, George had not really gotten away from Lewis, with just 3 seconds between them. Kimi was also keeping them close enough to him. He was truly the only one Mercedes could really depend on, even with the poor qualifying. Meanwhile, Charles was making his way up the order from P10 as he took 6th from Piastri, with Max and Lando camping just ahead of them. At lap 12, Lewis pitted for hard tyres and Mercedes responded by pitting Russell to the same compound. That was a good response as they feared the undercut from Ferrari. I find it funny that Russell claimed he was managing that first stint and could have went faster, but in the second stint he was still unable to get away from Lewis. Anyways, at lap 28, Hamilton called for another pit stop. And this is where I think Mercedes lost the race completely. Because why did they decide Russell was racing Norris and not Lewis? This was very weird to me. And by lap 33, Russell was forced to play defense against his faster teammate. He was obviously going to lose a lot of time doing this. And Kimi Antonelli was just way quicker than him. Maybe because the track was also just a little bit wider for Kimi this weekend. Finally, Norris went into the pits and Russell got his chance to change his boots. But at this point, he had already lost to Lewis. Lewis inherited the lead from Kimi when he also went into the pits. And at this stage, I told my girl the best thing that could happen to Lewis here is a safety car. And guess what happened? Mr. Alonso delivered. A virtual safety car was called when Alonso's car died on track. Lewis Hamilton managed to pit and maintain his lead with fresher tires than George and Kimi. Absolutely bravo strategy from Ferrari here. The race was on for P2 between Kimi and George because come on, nobody was going to touch Lewis, who was 7 seconds ahead by lap 50. And finally, on lap 61, Kimi cleanly overtook Russell for P2. And sadly, the fragile Mercedes power unit striked again, and this time on Kimi's car, as he lost speed dramatically from P2 into retirement. To be fair, there weren't enough laps for him to try catch Lewis, but this scene broke my heart. On the final lap, with almost 20 seconds from P2, Lewis Hamilton concluded the Grand Prix beautifully with a first win for Ferrari. Man, I'm sure we can all agree that was a fantastic race and a well-deserved victory for Lewis, especially for the first time with Ferrari. Mr. Fred was right. He knew exactly what he was doing when he signed Lewis Hamilton. And my rating for the Catalunya race, absolutely a 10 out of 10. And definitely an 11 out of 10 performance by Sir Lewis Hamilton. Let me know what you think about this video in the comments. And please like and consider subscribing. It really helps me out. And I will catch you in Austria.